Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Black Talent TV's Beat in the Talk. Of course, I'm your hostess with the mostest, Miss Simone Jackson, here to bring you another great episode of Beat in the Talk, where we have engaging conversations with people in the entertainment business. I'm really excited for our next guest today. He is a two-time Emmy Award-winning hairstylist. He has worked on Mudbound, So You Think You Can Dance, Being Mary Jane, Claws, and Shark Tank. And we are so excited that he can take some time off of his extremely busy schedule to be here. And I'm excited for him to be here. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Lawrence Davis. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm doing so glad you're doing good. Like I said, we are so excited to have you on here. I've been dying to have you on here to talk a little bit about Mudbound, but before I even get
Mm.
started on all of that, I gotta know, Mr. Davis, where did this passion for your hairstyling begin?
You know what? I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and my mom had seven brothers, and she basically was an amateur barber who basically took care all seven of her brothers, and she would cut their hair, and it was something that she also did to me. And I kind of picked it up from her, so I started cutting my friends' hair, friends in the neighborhood, things like that. So I thought one day that I just wanted to go a little bit further with it, and I I enrolled in hair school, learned to do women's hair as well, and it started there. I remember graduating from hair school, and the next day, I was in the salon, and it just started. It went from there.
Did you say she took care of seven brothers and seven brothers now?
She had seven brothers. Yep, growing up, seven brothers.
Is she part Wonder Woman? I mean, come on, because, oh my goodness, I can't imagine barely taking care of two. Seven?
Yep,
Oh my goodness. She
there
deserves.
were seven of them.
Has anyone gave her an award yet? Because she deserves one. I'm sorry. Someone should give
Oh,
her.
definitely,
She
most
definitely.
definitely.
So, when it comes to your profession and your industry of hairstyling, we all have people who we look up to and inspire, and look kind of inspire work-wise. Who inspires you in your profession?
You know what? My inspiration. He was a good friend of mine, and it just came to me organically. It was is Nico. Nico Abro actually is famous for Halle Berry's beautiful haircut. That one she's known for. Nico is a hairstylist that I'm gonna tell you this thing about this article I read. I read
Yeah.
this article, April issue 2001, Essence magazine. There was an issue about, I think Hallie's on the cover. There was a story about her, and it included Nico, her hairstylist. I read the article, and I was really inspired by the story. And I sat there in my chair in the salon, and I thought, I'm taking a trip to LA. It wasn't necessary to meet Nico, but it was just to go to LA, get a feel for the vibe out there. And if I wanted to work in the industry, I needed to choose between New York and LA. New York
Hmm.
being the closest to Baltimore, but LA being the furthest away. And I thought, you know what, go the furthest away. Worst case scenario, you'll end up in a salon, and that's not a bad thing because that's where you are now. So I, I packed my stuff. I went to LA on Memorial Day weekend of 2001 just to see what was going on. There was
Hmm.
absolutely nothing going on because it was a holiday weekend. And it was just one of those quiet, chill weekends. But I got to drive around and see some of the salons that I knew about, had read about through the years, and it really sparked an interest. And that weekend, I landed a job at a salon. I got an apartment through another friend, and I came back home Memorial Day, the Tuesday after Memorial Day, and I said, you know what, you guys, I'm moving to LA. And my clients were like, yeah, sure you are. So it was what inspired me, that particular article. Ironically, once I got to LA, I moved July 27th, 2001, and I landed a job at a salon that was called, at the time, it was called Eclipse Salon. And there was a lot of celebrity clientele there, and there was Tracy Johnson, who was on that salon, and she was known for her beautiful short haircuts. I think she was doing Nia Long and a few of the girls back then when they had those
Oh,
really beautiful
wow.
short haircuts. So I worked at that particular salon, and it was a little hard for me because I'm the new kid on the block. I didn't have a bunch of clients and all that stuff. So one day I get a phone call. Well, I don't get a phone call. I'm not busy, so I answer the phone, and a young lady wants to make an appointment with Tracy, the owner, and she gives me a Baltimore phone number. So I'm like, I said, I'm from Baltimore. I said, I recognize the area code. And she's like, oh, what's your name? And I told her my name, and I took the appointment. So maybe like 5 minutes later, I get a call. Someone calls back asking for me. I pick up the line, and it's one of my classmates from hair school, and she said, I'm coming to LA. A friend of mine just called to make an appointment. She's making it for me. I was trying to get an appointment with Nico at his salon,
Mm-hmm.
but I could not get in. He was too busy, so I was making it with Tracy. I said, wow. I said, I'm working here now. So when you come out, why don't you stay with me? She goes, okay, great. I'm taking Nico's class. I said, oh, sure. I'd like to meet him. She comes out. I drop her off at the class the next day. I meet Nico and I go about my business. The next day again, the second day of the class, I take her back and Nico's like, say, so are you taking the class? I said, no, I'm just dropping my friend off. He's like, why don't you come on in and sit in the back? And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, this is a $500 class at the time. And I was like,
Ooh.
I couldn't afford it. But anyway, he allowed me to sit in on the back of the class and I just like observed the class and I was like, okay, this is great. So before she left, she wanted to visit his salon, which was a beautiful, small boutique salon in Pasadena, California, and on a beautiful tree-covered street. It's a salon that you would just drive right by and never notice it, but they had a huge celebrity clientele. So with that being said, we went over the next day before she left. She wanted to check his salon out and just chat with him and just see where he worked, all of his magic. So anyway, there was just three chairs in this salon. His chair, his business partner, and there's a middle chair that was empty. And as we went on and she talked to him, I just kind of sat to the side and just listened. And as we're leaving, we're walking down the street. She goes, well, he's asking if you can come over and watch him work sometime. I'm like, I don't know if he'll let me do that. So I got the carriage and I went back in. I was like, hey, would you mind if I come over and watch you work your magic on people? He's like, sure, no problem. So at this time, I'm working over at Tracy's Salon still, but the whole 9/11 thing happened
Mm-hmm.
shortly after that. So everything kind of shut down for a few weeks and it kind of got quiet and I was kind of like longing to be back with my family in Baltimore. So I flew back home once planes were flying and I just wanted to check on everybody, see everybody's face.
Right, of course.
So I get back to LA and at this time I said, you know what, I'm not going to stay here at this salon because it's costing me to work there. I didn't have a huge clientele. I was renting a chair. So Nico, um, still was allowing me to come over. I would go over and watch him work here and there. Meanwhile, I transitioned to another salon in Beverly Hills where I was working on commission and I was still going over to Pasadena watching Nico work. So one day I get a call from Nico's receptionist and she goes, Nico wants you to come over. And I was like, sure, I'll be over as soon as I'm off from work. So I go over to Pasadena and we're talking and he goes, I wanted to see if you wanted to take this middle chair. I'm like, what? So he said he offered me the middle chair in the salon, and that's pretty much how everything started happening. From that point on, um, I wound up meeting Hallie. Like 2 weeks later, I was on the photo shoot with Nico and Hallie, and a few weeks later, I met his agent, who then became my agent, and it just literally went from there. I started working at E Entertainment from that point on because I met a young lady on the photo shoot who was a makeup artist there. I lived and I drank E Entertainment television back in the day when I was in
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore. It was all the entertainment news that we could get. So anyway, that became a part of my daily life. I was working at E Entertainment, still working at the salon, and literally it was a whirlwind from that moment on.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
Like
and I still
literally,
have. Hmm?
I said literally just like who knew just taking us, taking a chance and sitting in the back of class listening to the guy and then this whirlwind experience and then now you're on a set with Holly Berry and that has got to be whoa.
You know what? I was grateful to him, and I still am today. And he's a former gang member who changed his life and, just fell into this industry and hit it really hard. And I was so inspired by his stories and the things that he used to tell me, and just how much he cared and took care of me as an employee there and as a friend. So I was always and will always be grateful for the exposure that he gave me
Oh,
so much.
absolutely.
Yeah, I met
Absolutely.
Tyra through Nico. I met so many people through him that were really, really, have been and still are a part of my career today.
That is really amazing. That is an inspiring story. And, you know, I definitely, it makes me want to learn more about this Nico guy, because that is it, to go from being a former gay member to turning something, his life around into something positive. And that is what I really love. And that he
Oh
can
yeah.
inspire you is even more, incredible.
And it's just one of those things that just organically just fell into my lap. I put it out there and I said, this is what I want to do. And like I said, when my friend called all the way to LA and told me she was taking his class, it was like, wow, I'm here in LA. So it
Right.
worked out amazingly. I was and I still am grateful for that.
Of course. Of course. So, Mr. Lawrence, I am dying to know, because you are a two-time Emmy Award-winning hairstylist. Can you describe the feeling of not only being nominated twice, but winning twice as well?
Wow. I have to say, the first time, getting to Hollywood and working in the industry, I never knew that we could be nominated for those type of awards. It
Hmm.
never crossed my mind until I got to work at the Tyra show at the time, and it fell into my lap again. Here I am working on the show, and never knew that, like I said, I never knew that hair, makeup, costumes, all these other departments were honored that way. So when
Hmm.
that submission and that nomination came about, it just blew my mind. It was like one of those things where you're pinching yourself to say, is this real? Is this really happening? And then questioning it, like, I didn't know it could happen. I didn't
Right.
know that, we got recognized for that. So it was one of those things that had me feeling like I was in a little twilight zone. Um, just looking back on the short time that I'd been there and looking back from where I was and where I am and where I was at that particular time, it was just mind boggling. And then to win, I remember winning the first time, and it was one of those things where it was almost the last category of the night, and it was, everybody's a little tired. But
Hmm.
anyway, I remember winning, and I remember them calling my name and calling the show's name, but I don't remember taking the steps to get up on the stage at all. I don't remember that. So it was one of those out of body moments where you're just
Right.
there and you're just taking it all in and you're understanding it, but you're not not quite understanding what's going on. So that was the first time. And the second time it came around just last year with Hairspray Live. I was grateful for that as well. It was one of those things where I was sitting there and it happened again. They called the show's name, and I'm like, not expecting to lose, not expecting to win, but not knowing what. And then as the category was called and the competition was named, and then we were named, and then another show after that as our contenders. And when my friend said, you guys are going to win, I'm like, I don't know. Before I could finish saying I don't know, we had won. So I'm sitting there, kind of delayed reaction. I dropped my phone on the floor. I don't know where it went to. I remember getting up out of my seat, and literally that's all I remember until I went up the steps. I did remember going up the steps on the stage this time, but it was one of those out of body experiences you just don't expect to happen, and I'm
Right.
grateful for it. Totally grateful for it. So I want it to happen again because I love that feeling.
Right. Of course.
But it's just I'm just grateful that it happened, and it happened twice in my lifetime.
Honestly, I think you probably reacted a lot better than me. Me personally, I would have said thank you and then probably passed out, just out of pure exhaustion, excitement, and happiness all at once. So honestly,
Yes.
you did a lot better than me. Honestly, a lot better than me.
It was great, and I loved that night because it was a huge reunion for me as well. Because I got to see a lot of people that I've come through the years with in LA, and I live in Atlanta now. But I'm always in LA, so it's like one of those things where you're always working. You don't get to see everybody, but at the awards show, you get to see everybody. So it's a huge reunion. So you get to enjoy that moment with your friends that you've known for years.
Of course. And
Hmm.
what a moment, honestly, because like you said, when you're in this profession, you really don't, you're probably like maybe the second or third hairstylist I've interviewed that said, you don't expect these type of things to happen. And when they do, you're just taken
Yeah,
completely by surprise.
absolutely.
You're just left speechless.
Absolutely.
Like,
Hmm.
wow.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was.
Absolutely. So, getting to the question that I've been wanting and dying to ask, what was it like working on the Oscar-nominated film Mudbound?
Wow, you know what? Mudbound was a labor of love for me. When Dee Reese reached out about Mudbound, it was a yes right away because I worked with her on Bessie and love her energy, love her style of directing, love her personality. I love everything about her. So when she reached out, I said yes immediately.
Of course.
But I didn't know I knew it was a period piece, but I didn't know exactly what until I got the script. And once I read the script, I was just like, it's a no-brainer. I want to be here. I want to be a part of
Mhm.
this project. I love doing period pieces, and um, it was just something I wanted to do again after Bessie because it was Dee Reese, and I know what she's able to do. So when I got there, I will say it was one of the most physically challenging jobs ever because we were shooting in the summer
Uh-huh.
in Vacherie, Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans,
Ooh.
on a sugarcane plantation. It was about 98, 99, 100,
Oh my
104 degrees every day. And we would film pretty much at, I would say we did splits every day, which is part daytime filming, part nighttime filming, which meant that we went in at noon, which was the hottest point of the day. Um, it was as muddy and as organic as it could possibly be.
God. Of course.
And I will say that the mudbound part was definitely true to its word. And it's in, when it was muddy, of course we had to be out in it because it was the set. But the hard part of it was just the elements. The weather played us. Well, I won't say the weather did anything to us because if it was dry outside, they would wet the ground to make it muddier. So rain actually added to the set, which is what we needed. But
Mhm.
I will say that the challenge was wearing rubber boots in 99 or 100-degree weather because there was mud everywhere. And um, because you were hot, you had shorts on. So because you had shorts on, the rubber boots were rubbing on your legs. It was just one thing
After
after
another.
another. But I loved the project. So I realized that, you know what, you're going to dedicate yourself to this project and you want to be here. So make it through it. And I did. I made it through it because I loved everything about the project. I loved how organic it was. I loved that um, it was a great story, first of all, that
Mhm.
pretty
Absolutely.
much opened a lot of people's eyes to, race relations and friendship and what was going on here in America and a whole different feeling in Europe. It was like one of those things that, educated us. And it also educated me as I read the script and said, you know what, yes, this is what I want to be a part of. And I'm going to weather through all of this. So it was that part that was really hard. The labor of it was very challenging, but
Right.
I loved it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I watched the film, loved it, no surprise there. A
Hmm.
huge Dee Dee Reese fan. I would love to be able to get her on here one day. But yeah, we here at Black Talent Tea definitely love the film. And kudos to you guys, even though it was a physical labor of love, you guys
Hmm.
made a groundbreaking jump in becoming one of the first, Netflix films to get nominated for an Oscar. So
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
it was definitely worth it, honestly.
Absolutely. You know, it's one of those things that you kind of realize it when you're in the middle of it, like this is going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's one
Absolutely.
of those.
And you also had the honor and the privilege to work with the queen, the goddess that is Mary J. Blige. Hey, my woman crush is real on her, okay? I can go on and on. But I can. I can go on and on. But we are dying to know, what was it like not only working with her on the set, but how did you come up with her styles for the movie? Because she was barely unrecognizable to me. I need to know how you did that.
You know what? Of course, with every movie, I do research the time period, the styles, and things like that. Um, and I remember talking to Dee, and Dee said to me, she said, I want Florence. I don't want Mary. I don't want anything about Mary to be seen in this woman. And um, when Mary walked in the first day, you know, we had a consultation, we talked and everything. And I remember for camera test, she's like, well, I want to wear this wig or whatever. And I was like, yeah, Dee doesn't want any wigs involved. She wants she wants Mary J. Blige, but she wants Florence. I said, so that means that there are no nails, no lashes, minimal makeup, no wigs, no blonde hair, none of that. You're gonna get stripped down, but you're gonna be put into this character. So I remember the first day she walked into the trailer, there were other actors in there and they were having camera tests, things like that. And Mary sat in the chair and she goes, I'm not taking my wig off in front of all these people. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. So I'm going to have to, you know, clear the trailer out. But luckily everybody was done and they were ready for their, you know, their camera test. So we had a private moment where I spoke with her and she let me see her natural hair. And I was like, you know what? You have beautiful hair. She had hair down to her shoulders. And I said, this is going to be perfect. So I showed her a few references that I pulled for African American women during that period of time, who were farmers or laborers at the time. And we came to an agreement on one of the photos that I presented to her that she liked. And I was basically able to, you know, get her out of the wig and talk her through, because it was a very, you know, women are very sensitive when it comes to, especially entertainers, when it comes to coming out of who they are as an entertainer and going into, especially singers, should I say, who are going into acting.
Right.
You know, it's a different thing. You got to come in as raw and as natural as possible in the morning in order to be put into these characters, because it takes layers and layers of this and that. But for Florence, it was about stripping down. For Florence, it was about stripping down, and for Mary, it was about her trusting me to take her there. So I was able to use her natural hair, come up with a beautiful style that showed her as a character, a strong Black woman at that time who had little but took care of herself and took care of her family. So I said, Mary is Florence at this time, but Florence is a well-groomed African-American woman who labors in the yard, but she still takes care of her family. She washes her clothes and she's well kept. So we came to that agreement, and we came to Florence evolved from there, and Mary was very comfortable. I think a few days later, Mary was coming into the trailer full on afro, like, I'm here, I'm here. And, you know, it was very liberating for her, I'm sure, at that time. And it was very liberating for me because she trusted me to take her there. So I had a great time, and her energy, her spirit, her shyness was surprising to me as a person, because I thought, you know, you're on stage in front of all these people, but it's a different audience. It's a different formula. So I got it, and we had a great time, really good time.
Absolutely. And like I said, I barely recognized her in that movie. She was such a force to be reckoned with. And I think because everything the look was on point and everything. I didn't look at her and go, oh, there's Mary J. Blige, the singer. I saw Mary J. Blige, the Oscar nominated actress, and kudos to your guys' work, honestly. Really.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I was just like, wow, because, you know, I've seen her in so many different films, like the Tyler Perry movies, of course, but it was so nice to see her as raw as she was in this movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was great to see her as a grit. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, you used to work on E! News.
I did. E! News was one of my first television jobs in LA. Like I said, when I was working with Nico, I did a photo shoot for Aisha Tyler at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
she was at E! News, and the makeup artist on that particular photo shoot was the makeup artist at E! Entertainment News. So I told her, I said, I would always watch this, and I was always wondering how to get my foot in the door there. She gave my name to someone, and they actually called. I had been on the freelance list ever since 2001, and I actually still get calls to work at E! for award shows and red carpet events. So it's like a family over there. I will say that I miss them, but it's almost one of those things where it's like you one of those places that I've always had love for even before getting there. And once I worked there and left there, I still have love for that place. Um, it was one of those full circles for me. I remember watching Jules Asner and Patrick Benson back in the day on on E! News and just sitting there absorbing everything that came out of their mouths about the industry. And when I got that opportunity to work there, it was just one of those things where um, I went to fill in for someone who was ill at the time, and got to meet other people there. And unfortunately, that gentleman passed away, and I was offered that position.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that, I was like, I was like grateful for my friend who called me there. She's like, Gary, who's the guy who passed away. She's like, Gary was selected my best friend, and I think he'll be great for his position. So Melanie Smith at the time was the other hairstylist there who called me and brought me on board. So I never ever will forget working there, and always will be available when I can to go back and do E! News.
Of course. Was it
And not only was it E! News, it was other shows as well. It took me, I remember getting a call while I was working at E! because E! and Style were under the same roof. And
mm-hmm.
that's how I met Niecy Nash and got on Clean House and went from there. It's just every door opened another door, and it was all well connected.
Oh my goodness! You met DC Dash. I'm so jealous.
Yes,
I bet she's
absolutely.
awesome. But was it challenging for you to transition from working on E! News to becoming a hairstylist? Was it challenging for you to do that?
It wasn't challenging. And you know what? I basically knew that every chapter and every door that opened would be a learning experience, and I just needed to watch and follow suit. And it happened that organically, and it happened, I won't say easy, but it happened smoothly, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, how is this happening? How am I here? Why am I here? How did I get here? I questioned all of that, but I believe in asking for what I want, and I believe in being specific about what it is I'm asking for. And verbiage is very important, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I asked for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And glad for that, transition too, because your work is really inspiring. And it's I can't wait to see, what else, future projects you get involved with, which, speaking of which, could you give us a little scoop on some that you are involved with?
I just finished a movie in November, I'm sorry, December, actually January, called Green Book, and that was with Mahershala Ali. And as I was finishing Claws last summer, I got a call from Mahershala Ali, and um, he was asking if I was available or if I would be interested in having him as a client. I'm like, absolutely, because of course I love doing women clients, but whenever I get a call from a male client requesting me and I'm available, it's kind of like a break. So I'm like, yeah, of course I am. So I met Mahershala last summer, and we went on to do Green Book in the fall of last year. Green Book is a period piece also about Don Shirley, who's an African American musician who was very popular in the 60s, and he lived in the loft spaces that used to be above Carnegie Hall in New York City. Beautiful loft spaces where the performers lived when they were doing shows. So Don Shirley character is a city boy, and he books a tour of the South in the 1960s. I think the year was 1960 exactly. And what he did was he followed what's called the Green Book, which is an actual book that was written I think the first version was written in the 1930s for African Americans who traveled the country, and it gave them safe places to stay, safe places to eat, and safe roads to travel when they drove across country.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he followed this book as his safe passage for his performances in the South in the 1960s, where he hired an Italian a white Italian bouncer to be his driver.
Mm-hmm.
So the story Green Book is about their friendship and their relationship as he toured the South, giving these concerts, these piano concerts, to mostly white actually absolutely mostly 90%, 99% white audiences were people who loved his music. So that role was played by Mahershala, and it should be out in the fall of this year.
Well, we
And
will
from there,
I will
and from
definitely.
there, yeah, I think they actually had a screening this past weekend, but I wasn't able to go in LA.
Oh,
And then from
cool.
there, we went to True Detective, which is where we are now in Arkansas.
Ah, love that show. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And plus True Detective. What a beautiful combination. I'm excited, and I'm definitely excited
Yeah.
for the Green Book. The Green Book, correct?
Yes, Green Book. Uh-huh.
Yes, I'm excited for that. We'll definitely keep our eye on that, and when that comes out later this fall, hopefully it does. So one of my
Absolutely.
final questions for you, Mr. Lawrence. What advice can you give to inspiring young stylists wanting to be where you are now?
You know what I would say, and I mean this, and because I had to say it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
You may be in a city where this is not happening, entertainment's not happening and it's not whatever. You got to be willing to pack it all up and leave. You got to go where it is. You've got to surround yourself by it in order to be a part of it. I mean, with social media being what it is today, of course you can click and look and scroll, but if you're not physically there in it and surrounded by it, you're not going to get pulled in the way that you want to get pulled in. So if you
Right.
surround yourself by it, you will become a part of it. I guarantee you.
I like that advice. Surround yourself by it, and yeah. I love that. I love that. I might have to trademark into a t-shirt one day. I do. I think I might have to trademark into a t-shirt one day. That's a great advice, Mr. Lawrence. Really great advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I really want to say thank you for giving your time and giving us your words and thoughts. Honestly, your story and your inspirations have been awesome. I've been loving it. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait to see more of your future projects you'll be involved with. I'm definitely gonna make sure I keep my eye on for the Green Book and of course True Detective.
Yes,
Can't wait for that.
absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Black TV fans, you can always follow Mr. Lawrence's work on Instagram. You can always make sure you can follow his stuff on True Detective since he's going to be involved. And make sure you guys, check out the Green Book, which will hopefully be coming out later this fall. And
Absolutely.
yes, absolutely. And of course, if you always want to come down and talk with me and or advertise, make sure you guys go to info@blacktalonttv.com. We're always willing and always happy to hear from you guys. And again, I just want to thank Mr. Lawrence for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Your schedule's jam-packed, so we really appreciate you giving us time.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it as well.
Absolutely. Black Talent TV fans, you know me. I am your hostess with Moses Simone Jackson. We'll be back again with another episode of Black Talent TV's Being the Talk. But until then, you guys have a wonderful day. Mr. Lawrence, thanks again. And we will talk to you
You're
guys
welcome.
soon. Bye.
Bye, Simone.